The U.S. Marshals have been brought in to hunt down Jason Billingsley. So I want to bring in John Muffler right now. He is a retired U.S. Marshal, knows a lot of the guys who are out there doing this work regularly. Yeah, I got to ask you about this. You know, this is a city. You and I spent a lot of time on the air talking about Danilo Cavalcante in the woods. This is a very different kind of search where you don't necessarily, use thermal imaging in dogs. How do you search for someone like this if you're the U.S. Marshals and you're called in?
Well, thanks again for having me on. The Deputy Commissioner from Baltimore really hit the nail on the head with his points, very salient and true. They're going to look at the known associates. He has a criminal history there. They're going to know what that criminal history is and who his associates are and were, and they're going to be looking at those individuals and those locations and tying loose ends and seeing what they know and working those angles, those investigative leads to pinpoint where he may be now. And if he has a phone or some sort of electronic device that he's communicating with or associated with him, then that's awesome. That makes it a little easier for the marshal.
So how, and the fact that he just was in the can for the last 7+ years, right? And he got out within the year. How much do you guys go back to the communications he had on the inside to determine who he's talking to on the outside and who might be helping him on the outside?
Yeah, well, those intake forms and all those calls that are he's had on the inside, that's information that'll be retrieved pretty easily from the marshals and the task force, looking at that information and going to those neighborhoods and going to those contacts and hammering this down. Again, this is someone who, this happened just recently, this murder, and then there was the assault that your reporter talked about, which I can confirm also. I've heard the same information about the more recent, or the one on Tuesday, sexual assault. So he is a very violent individual, hence that warning from the Baltimore PD today about not just his past, but what he conceivably can do, tomorrow, tonight.
Yeah, 6'4", 300 pounds. That is not a small guy. Again, not so easy to hide. Daniel Cavalcante was easier to find at 5 feet, but 6'4", 300 is not super easy to hide. I am curious though, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, the charge of reckless endangerment. That one kind of threw me. They're looking for a sex offender, who they say is a murderer, but then they throw in reckless endangerment. Does that give you any clues if you're looking for him, what that means?
For me, not really. As an investigator, he's a bad guy, and that's all I need to know. The reckless endangerment part probably comes from just, a prosecutor maybe adding on just to have as much going against him when it comes to the courtroom time. But for me as an investigator, I know this is a bad guy, and that is helpful. But I already know he's done some very bad things in his life, and that's top of my mind.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.